Hey guys, welcome to another recent viewing video. And I watched the movie partially last night, partially this morning because I fell asleep. That's what I get for trying to start a movie after 11 o'clock at night. And I wanted to talk about it. It's this little movie here, Dumb and Dumber 2, the sequel, the long-awaited sequel to the original Dumb and Dumber. Now, I had intended to watch a different movie, but that damn movie wouldn't play in my Blu-ray player. My Blu-ray player seems to not like two or three particular movies out of all my movies that I've ever at least tried to play in it. It didn't agree with the other one, so I'm going to try to figure out some other way to watch it. Maybe I'll use my digital code for it, although I tend to give those to a friend of mine because if I've got the movie, I like to watch the movie on disc. But I may have to cash this one in for myself so I can watch it. But anyway, that's for another time. So instead, I went and watched this one, and first of all, the first Dumb and Dumber movie is a classic. It's a classic 20 years ago, roughly. I should have looked this up already, because I was thinking the same thing as I was watching the movie. I was like, has it been exactly 20 years? Yeah, pretty much close to 20 years. It released December of 1994, and this one came out November of 2014. So 20 years ago, a little movie called Dumb and Dumber came out, starring Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. And, alright, I'm a big Jim Carrey fan. I haven't had a lot of chance to talk about Jim Carrey stuff because his movies in the last several years have been all over the place, and that's awesome for him. I'm really excited that Jim Carrey has gotten to a point in his career where he can pretty much just do whatever he wants, as in whatever kind of roles he wants to do. If he wants to do something risky, if he wants to do something serious, or if he wants to do something scary, he's kind of done it all at this point. But I can't deny that I miss the days of like Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, The Mask, that stuff that he did like in the 90s that just blew me away. I could probably do a whole video about Jim Carrey stuff, and maybe I will at some point, but there was just, let me look at his filmography here real quick. Yeah, it's like Liar Liar, Cable Guy, the Ace Ventura movies, Batman Forever. Around 1998, Truman Show came along, and Man on the Moon, Me, Myself, and Irene. These were all movies that were kind of different. He did the Grinch movie. That was kind of more like what I expect from him. Bruce Almighty was a good one. The Majestic is something I've never seen. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Anyway, yeah, it seems like right around the late 90s, early 2000s is when he started doing a lot of stuff that wasn't necessarily, Jim Carrey. And that's great. Like I said before, I think it's awesome that he can do whatever he would like to do at this point and not get completely pigeonholed as that goofball physical comedy dumbass actor. I mean dumbass in an affectionate way, not in a slanderous way or anything. He had started off with all that goofiness. I mean, I remember him all the way back in Living Color and doing Fire Marshal Bill and all those characters that he did back then. And it was probably easy for him to just say, I could do this kind of work for the rest of my life, or at least until everybody totally gets tired of me. But he took chances and he did different kinds of roles. But so much so that, I didn't see him in those roles anymore. Well, actually, I did and I didn't. Because even when he tried to do something like, say, there was a movie that I watched, The Number 23, he did in 2007. I really, really liked that movie. It was different. But he still acted like Jim Carrey in some of those scenes. It reminds me of Michael Keaton in the original Batman movie, and how he was kind of known for some comedy stuff, some physical stuff, a certain kind of acting or whatever. And he had one scene in the first Batman movie where he kind of showed that. And if you're a Michael Keaton fan and you know Batman, you probably know what scene I'm talking about. The same thing happened to somebody else. Like Robin Williams movies. Even when he did serious, or at least somewhat more serious movies, like Good Morning Vietnam, there were still times when all those characters and all those personas started to come out of him. Jim Carrey has done a lot of that in the movies that I've seen that are not necessarily, straight up goofball comedy. But anyway, my point was that this movie, 20 years after the original one, was something to behold because it was more like that old Jim Carrey that I've kind of missed. Now, as far as the movie itself, as compared to the original, like if the original was here, well, this movie is here. It doesn't quite hit the mark of the original movie. I don't know if it's the time factor. I don't know if it's, things change over the years. And, your tastes are different. You mature. I'm 20 years older than I was then. I was 20 then. I'm 40 now. Things are different. I mean, I still love all that. I could still sit down and watch the first Dumb and Dumber and laugh my ass off at it. But to see something new come out and it's so similar to the first one, it's a little unusual. It's surreal. And so that's why I think, because they strove so hard to make this really, really like the original one, in some manners it fell flat. In other moments of the movie, I was laughing my ass off. There was some funny stuff. Of course, I think the scene that most people will probably remember from the movie is if you've seen it anyway, is the scene in the nursing home where they go to try to get Jeff Daniels. Now I've sitting here thinking here, I don't even remember which character they each played. It's sad. Jim Carrey is Lloyd, so Jeff Daniels is Harry. So they go to steal some hearing aids for Harry because, well, there's a reason for it. They end up in this nursing home. It doesn't really suffice to explain these situations because it's such an off the wall. I mean, everything that happens in this is so off the wall. And they end up in this room with this older lady, and basically Lloyd does something that enables them to just be given the hearing aids from this elderly lady. And like I said, it was probably the most shocking and funny, shocking moment of the movie, but there were a lot of them. There were just a lot of other moments that really fell flat. And there were a lot of, the movie really, in my opinion, copies the first so much that at times, for me, it was a little uncomfortable. It was like, wow, this is just like that part of the first movie. This is just like that part of the first movie. And it was kind of, I don't know, I just felt like they shouldn't have done it as much as they did. But at the same time, some of the best parts of the movie were those that harkened back to the original, like the Mutt Cuts van that they drove around, the big dog van. It has a cameo in the movie. And it was addressed brilliantly, in my opinion. Instead of them, now we're right back into this, they flipped it around and, the vehicle gets damaged and it was just there for a taste. It was like a cameo of its own. And it was great. And like having the blind kid, Billy in 4C, having the actual guy who played Billy come back and play, reprise his role again was great. Stuff like that was great. But like the whole summation of the movie, it was, they had to deliver something to somebody who was on the other side of the country, and they had to get there, and it was really, really important. And they had somebody who was kind of evil and greedy that was on their tail and trying to manipulate things. And of course, their ignorance continues to best those people. That having that kind of a plot thing that was so similar and derivative from the first movie was a little bit of a letdown. Those are the things, in my opinion, like Some aspects that called towards the first movie were perfect. Other aspects kind of brought the movie down a little bit. But still, it was like, if I had a scale of 1 to 10 for comedy movies, shenanigans, physical comedy movies, dumb movies like this, Dumb and Dumber, the first was a 10 out of 10. This was like an 8 out of 10. So that doesn't mean that it was horrible. It just didn't quite live up to the original. And I don't think if this had been released a year or two after the first movie, or 20 years later like it was, I don't think it would have made that any better. Strike while the iron is hot. Most of the time when a really good movie comes out and somebody decides to do a sequel to it, the sequel or sequels never match up to the original. We all know that. There's very few people say like Godfather 2 is actually better than the first Godfather. I've never seen them, so I wouldn't know. People say that The Empire Strikes Back is better than the first one. Well, I kind of hold a pretty pretty steady opinion for all of those movies, although I find my favorite to be Return of the Jedi. But it's unanimous public opinion that Empire Strikes Back is better, Godfather 2 is better. This would never have probably been better than the first one, because those are exceptions and not the rule. So anyway, that's really all I have to say about it. I did enjoy it. I would have liked to have seen Lauren Holly come back for this one, if that could have been possible. But they had Laurie Holden from The Walking Dead, and particularly for me from The X-Files in, and that was pretty cool. But it would have been nice if there would have been, she would have been something from the first movie I would have loved to have seen come back. I don't know, though. I thought Lauren Holly was incredibly hot back in the day. I thought she was great in that role, and I thought it was amazing that she was, involved with Jim Carrey there for a while. She got married to him a couple of years after that movie came out. But, that's just my personal feeling. It would have been nice to see her back. But anyway, that's it. Dumb and Dumber 2. And I liked at the end of the movie they made a joke about a Dumb and Dumber 4 coming out in 2034. I wonder what it would be like to see, 70-year-old Jim Carrey, and let's see, Jim Carrey right now is 53, so he'd be 72, 73-year-old in that movie, and Jeff Daniels is 60, so he'd be 80 if they did do something like that. I doubt it. I doubt that there'll even be a third movie at all, but I don't think they'll wait 20 more years to do it. But who knows? Hey, the Farrelly brothers, they're fairly funny about stuff like that. Bazing. Alright, well, anyway, that's enough for me. Dumb and Dumber 2, not quite as good as the first, but still pretty funny. And I'm glad it came out even 20 years later. Thanks, guys, for watching.